Okay, I'm back. So let's get back to the slides. Okay, we have to start the maximizing value. We talked about the negotiating value. Now we are going to talk about maximizing value. That is like, we are trying to, as we say, we are trying to maximize the return on investment, right? ROI of the portfolio measures the value achieved for input cost. So that is a very materialistic way of doing it when our value is specifically in terms of money, we can go for ROI. Given that the required value has already been negotiated, in the previous step, the portfolio manager should aim to realize the value required from the portfolio at the lowest safe economic cost. This we have already talked about. Now, the portfolio manager has a number of tools. How can he maximize the value? He has to look at the risk appetite, which we will discuss in more detail in risk management, that is related to input and output quality assigned to the components. How much risky those inputs and outputs are. Then is design guidance, which apply to components to prevent over specification of solution elements. Components are projects and programs. So design guidance is provided by the portfolio to the subordinate projects and programs as if they do not get into the over specification and waste money on it, because we want to uh, increase ROI, maximize ROI. So we have to shave off our extra expenditures. Application of solution constraints to force synergy between components in the portfolio or between components in the portfolio and components in other portfolios. So wherever we have interaction with other components or portfolios, we have to create a synergy with them. Because without synergy, we will be causing some kind of wastage. So that wastage would naturally not be contributing to the maximizing of the value. Requirement on individual components to exercise effective financial management. Exercise of effective financial management at the portfolio level. So there are two levels. One is at the component level, the financial management should be effective, and as well as at the portfolio level. So financial management works both ways. And last but not the least is the use of the efficient frontier, the tool we talked about. Now, about maximizing value in an organization, organizational risk that the portfolio focuses too heavily on maximizing the return, losing sight of its true requirement, which is to return value. When we get engaged with our risk in our project, organizational level risk, um, we put several expectations with that. We set an appetite for that risk and we say, okay, this risk will never exceed this limit, and we have, kind of, while we are dealing with the risk, sometimes we lose sight of the main requirement. And thus, when the main requirement is not in sight and our total focus is on the risk, then the return value may also be impacted. So I'm not saying that we should not be doing a meticulous risk management at the organizational level, but I'm just saying that you should not concentrate abnormally on the risk. You should keep an eye on maximizing the returns and should not lose sight of the requirements. It becomes very easy to move to a regime where the organization And therefore, the portfolio manager becomes focused on cost and loses sight of value, undermining the return achieved. Now, you see, as we have already discussed, value is not always about money, it has other things to count for. So, if you are just focusing yourself on the financial aspect, you may be losing sight of other things which add value, right? That may undermine the returns achieved. Effective portfolio financial management is a key part of maximizing return in this model. Having said the previous sentence, we still agree that portfolio financial management is important. That does serve for maximizing the value, but naturally, we don't have to lose sight of other things which are adding value. It's not only the money. But anyways, we do understand and agree that portfolio financial management is a key part of maximizing return. Portfolio financial management includes, what does it include? The activities involved in identifying the portfolio financial sources, the sources, determining inputs into the ideation process, establishing the overall budget of the portfolio, integrating the budget of the portfolio components, securing approval of financial changes of ongoing components through governance, monitoring and controlling costs throughout the duration of the portfolio. So if you look at it, financial management is not only talking about money, but it is making all the financial decisions at every step of the portfolio and its components, every step of the way. So that is exactly why we can say that this is looking after in minute details when the projects or components or portfolio is being planned, when it is being funded, when it is being the budgets are being integrated, we are approving, when whatever we are doing at every step of the way, whatever financial decision we are taking is due to the portfolio financial management. And that supports our previous sentence, which says the portfolio financial management is a key part of maximizing return in this model. Maximizing value, we have got 5 pillars for that. And naturally and obviously, financial framework, whatever we conceive, the model we have created behind, that is one huge pillar. Then, as we were just discussing, the financial management plan of the portfolio, that plays an important role. Then the components, the programs and projects run under the portfolio, their cost estimates are contributing towards our financial management. So they also play important role because they all have to be integrated. Portfolio budget and financial management effort itself. These are the 5 things which are the 5 key pillars for maximizing the value. Taking them one by one.
Can you go back to that?
Mm-hmm.
Please. Let's see if I can explain this. The financial framework is the.
Before we start creating a financial management plan, with strategic people, we sit down and try to form a financial framework, a structure, remember we had a governance structure, right? So we are trying to create a financial framework. And based on this financial framework, it is like a governance requirement from the financial side. So for the portfolio, we are trying to create a financial framework. That framework provides us the guidelines for creation of the financial management plan. So for all practical purposes, you consider the financial framework as the financial governance guidelines. Got it?
Right. And then the management plan is managed. It's
according to that governance, according to that framework, we are complying with that. We create a detailed financial management plan, and that was the plan for the portfolio. But that is getting support from the component cost estimate, because they play their role in the development of the financial management plan. And naturally, we create a budget for the portfolio, how much money will be allocated to the portfolio at what point in time. That also associates with the uh, money we need to allocate to the components, right? The component budgets are dependent on the portfolio budget.
right.
And lastly, the financial management effort itself. That is the execution of the financial management plan. The actions we take according to the financial management plan is the financial management effort. Got
Okay,
it?
thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So where were we? We were talking about framework. I have already explained that. It specifies the system and method for coordinating available funding, determining constraints, specifying how funds are allocated. So this is a kind of financial governance framework for the portfolio. Just like we studied about the guidelines related to finance, they are here. And based on these guidelines and this framework, portfolio financial management plan will be created. Portfolio financial management plan is a detailed plan based on this framework. So a component of the value management framework that documents the portfolio financial aspects, funding schedules, milestones, initial budget, blah, 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 all of those things. Portfolio financial management plan may also be referenced from the portfolio management plan. So naturally, portfolio financial management plan is part of the portfolio management plan. So it could be an ingredient into the portfolio management plan. But specifically, because we are talking about the finances here, the value here, so we are specifically focusing on portfolio financial management. Then we have got the component estimates, bottom-up estimation coming from the components to the portfolio, used to determine a bottom-up budget compilation of the portfolio. Portfolio budget established by compiling all available financial information and listing all funding and payment schedules in sufficient detail so that portfolio's cost can be tracked as part of the portfolio budget baseline. I hope you understand how much money is to be allocated where and when and how this all schedule has been created. And financial management efforts, once the portfolio receives its initial funding and begins paying for component expenses, the financial management effort moves into tracking, monitoring, and controlling. So this is basically the execution of the financial management plan. Next is assuring value. Purpose of assuring value assurance, basically what we have done is we have already maximized the value by those tools, and now we have put in our level best effort to maximize the value, and now the value has started coming, and we have to compare it with the expectation. So it's kind of a comparison of what we promised and what we created, right? So this is kind of a comparison, and based on that, after the assuring value, whatever are the results of that, based on that, we can even go back to the negotiating table. If this situation cannot be reversed, if it is a negative situation, we could not assure the value and it could not be reversed, so we can even go back to the negotiating table and renegotiate with the strategy as if the expectations could be brought down. The expectations about the portfolio value should be toned down. Anyways, Value is an aggregation of the output from its component. So naturally we understand whatever value the components are making, that is ultimately added up to, come up with the value of the portfolio. Projects produce deliverables. For example, the online registration and accounting management system for a membership application process. So that is a deliverable. Program delivers benefits. I have talked about it in quite a bit of detail with you. You already understand that projects deliver products, service, or result. Programs deliver benefit. They realize benefits. And what do the portfolios do?
Align strategy.
It aligns with the strategy and it generates value. That's what we are doing. We are trying to assure the value. Value is the target of the portfolio. But this is a cumulative, it is an aggregation value coming from the component, but we are concerned about it at the portfolio level. Example, in a hotel loyalty scheme, which we discussed, a program might redefine the membership application process and membership levels. If we are unable to get value out of that scheme, we may have to improve it, right? There maybe the application process is too lengthy, too complicated. Our membership levels are too complicated to understand for the people, and that's why a loyalty program is not working. So maybe you have to tweak things down as if we can assure the value. The benefit could include simplified administration and improved management information for targeted marketing. Underlying premise is that if a portfolio component successfully builds its assigned deliverable, it can make its contribution to the chain that links to the deliverable to component outcome, to benefit, to value, all the way to the organization mission. So this is the lifeblood flowing in the veins of the organization. It started with deliverable, benefit, value, and strategy, and naturally accomplishment of the mission. In assuring value, this diagram shows how the portfolio value will be undermined if components produce deliverables that fail to enable the target changes. The project was supposed to deliver a deliverable, a product, service, a result. Program was supposed to realize certain benefit. If they fail in doing what they are supposed to be doing, ultimately they would not be contributing towards the strategy. No value will be generated. Strategy will not be accomplished. Mission will not be achieved in the organizational mission. So value assurance aims to mitigate that risk. We don't want that any project or any program falls trapped to that and fails to deliver what they were supposed to deliver. Similarly, the benefits of a program are typically realized as each component project finishes, because program is made up of projects. Projects are delivering deliverables. Those deliverables are then uh, kind of converted into benefits, and those benefits are kind of married up together to consolidated together to form the program benefit, which satisfies the organizational strategy. So you understand that when we are doing that, when we are we have got portfolio performance is being measured, and we find that the components are not really doing their job, and portfolio performance is going down, and it is not contributing to the organizational strategy and all, then we have to come back to redesign our portfolio, correct the problem, and then continue on, like design and execution of the portfolio component. Deliverables will come, values will be realized, and ultimately portfolio performance would be appropriate. I think this was simple, this was not very complicated. While this figure shows a cycle activity at any point can be continuous. For example, the organization may continuously develop and refine new strategies. So this thing is going on and on. So in this cycle, this strategy may input at any time. If the organization is disrupted, then it can develop a response by intervening at whichever point is most appropriate. So if there is an emergency and strategy wants to put something, they can enter at any point in this cycle in the portfolio. It's not necessary that they will only interfere during the overall portfolio design. They could actually interfere anywhere in the cycle. Portfolio manager inherits a set of principles and constraints related to the approach to value assurance. Adopt those for the nature of the portfolio and then communicate them to the company. So those principles and constraints portfolio manager has inherited. He has to communicate them down to to its components as if they can make use of it. They can adopt to what the portfolio dilemma is. Although the results of value assurance are addressed at the portfolio level on a continuing basis, value assurance is enacted at a detailed level within each component, that is each program and project. The value is actually enacted there. So tentacles of value assurance should go down to the component level to ensure that everything which is happening will be generating the value ultimately.
So this is the only example so far where the portfolio is the sum of the components when we talk about value, not the other areas. But
yes, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Because it is translating deliverable into benefit into value,
and then,
value, and so on.
Then would this be an example of how the value generated or the value decided here would be the I won't say the mission statement, but the business case for the program? So we talked about, the program has to have a specific target. Would that target have also be aligned with the value here?
Yes, of course. But you see, that is not specifically the subject of assurance value. That is happening. Basically, portfolio is keeping an eye on all its components. Their business cases are always under scrutiny all the time. Whenever there is a problem, maybe the problem is coming from assuring value or it is coming from some other sector. But if there is a problem, the portfolio manager has the authority to close down to terminate any of the components. Maybe the decision of terminating a component or maybe advising a component to change its way of working may be coming from the assuring value aspect. May have come from there, or it may have come from any other area or analysis. Right? Portfolio anyways enjoys that power. Portfolio has the authority to terminate or to select a new project and start a new project. Portfolio has that power. But then portfolio manager has to justify it to the board and to the organizational strategy that whatever changes to the components portfolio manager is doing is actually for the betterment. So naturally, when he's presenting the value and all, probably that is where portfolio manager would be discussing that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think it's a little different. The business objective of the portfolio, it is not necessarily 100% the value, but both of them have to be analyzed. You got to understand what the business objective of the program is,
Okay.
And in
Okay.
addition to that, it has to also match the value of the portfolio. Yeah.
Yeah. In the previous slide, where I was talking about what? About the tentacles. Where was the point? I can't find it. You know, when we are trying to assure the value, we make sure that all our components, um, the portfolio manager has a mechanism of checking within the component, whatever they are performing, will they be able to produce what they are producing? And ultimately, will that contribute to the value generation? Will that assure the value? So actually, while we are assuring the value, we are not only working within the portfolio, we are doing audits of our components as well. We are trying to check, maybe the components are not aware how they are contributing to the value, but portfolio manager assures the value by protecting the interest of the study. By looking at the components in from that perspective, which checks the assurance of the value. That was the point. And if some of the components is not coming up to the standard, that component we can the portfolio manager can decide to terminate it or do something else to it. Maybe put it on a lower priority level. If it is not terminated, then maybe it is put on a low priority level, and a project which can assure the value even in a better manner, that can be brought up.
Yeah.
Okay, this was a slide we were discussing, referring back to the loyalty program. Conclusions. We did that. Okay. There are 4 approaches to accomplish this assurance of value, where the portfolio manager requires action by the components. While detail related to them can be found in other PMI standards, naturally the program management standard and the project management standard, but you see, we will look at it from the portfolio management standard perspective. So the approaches here are requirements tracing, acceptance criteria, gated reviews, and quality assurance. You might feel that these are the things which are kind of micromanaging into the components. Well, not really. We are not trying to micromanage, but we are trying to protect our interest at portfolio level. And at portfolio level, our interest is assuring the value. Just for the purposes of assuring the value, we would be going down, doing an audit of a project or a program, check their requirement traceability, the requirements they have established. But we are not challenging your requirements are right or wrong. We are just trying to establish that whatever these requirements are, is everything all right? Is it smooth? Will it be able to generate the value we want at the portfolio level? I hope you understand my point.
Yes.
So we don't want to micromanage our components, but we definitely have the authority to audit them and check them from these perspectives. Their requirement traceability, their acceptance criteria. Maybe their acceptance criteria is faulty. Maybe gated review is a very interesting technique where we uh, like at the portfolio level, what we do is even at the program level, we have gated reviews, but at portfolio level, this can be more pronounced. Gated reviews are where we stop and get checked. For example, at the project level, there is a similar concept where we say, what did we call it? Probably phase gates. Phase gates. Do you remember the idea of phase gates?
Yeah.
This is exactly like that. Phase gate is kind of a check. When you are trying to assure your value, you can go to the phase gates or to the program gates. Program has its own gates. Program management has its own gates, right? In project, we have got gates at every phase. So those are the places where we can check whether things are happening all right or not. This, again, I will repeat, portfolio manager is not doing from the perspective of micromanaging. It is not going to interfere into the working of the project or the program manager, but he just want to assure himself and the team, portfolio team who are doing this audit, that they are going in the right direction. They will be able to add value to the portfolio ultimately. And the fourth aspect is the quality assurance. So you keep a keen eye on these things. I've repeated this thing many times. I'll repeat it one more time, and that is, we don't want to micromanage the projects and programs. The only concern is that we want to assure the value, right? As in a previous slide, enabled to, yeah. Value assurance is enacted at a detailed level within each component, appropriately considering risk at all levels from component to overall portfolio. So it's not only the risk, it is also value generation and everything included. A brief on the requirement tracing. We want to see portfolio managers should require that each component relate its requirements to its constituent work packages. You just need to check. You don't have to interfere in their working. You just need to check this specific aspect and put it in your audit. Highlight this thing in the audit, that your requirements do not align with the work packages. Your requirements do not get represented in the work packages. There is a gap, there is a problem. Your work packages are probably not designed around the requirements, and they require reporting on the results or something like that. So you see, requirement tracing can hint to us if there is loss of value anywhere, the leakage of value anywhere in any component. Similarly, acceptance criteria is a big check, because acceptance criteria means that if that passes, that the deliverable or whatever benefit is, that would get accepted, right? So acceptance criteria could be created with a lot of care and could be reviewed by the portfolio manager for assuring value purposes. Every requirement need one or more acceptable criteria. Acceptance criteria are not the same as completion criteria. Please don't confuse it with the completion of the project. Acceptance does happen throughout a component. Anytime you complete a module, you get the acceptance for that. You don't do the acceptance at the end of the project. So this is not completion criteria, this is acceptance criteria. Completion criteria define when a task is finished. Acceptance criteria describe when the work on the task can stop. For example, there may be a task for which the completion criteria is plan agreed upon. When all the plan is completed, the completion will be completed. But in case of the acceptance criteria, this defines the nature of the agreement. Reported agreement of acceptance criteria provides a portfolio manager with an indication of component risk. When acceptance criteria cannot be readily agreed upon, this suggests that there are some fundamental disagreement. If you don't agree on acceptance criteria, then there is no question that you can generate any kind of value. You have no agreement here. How can you run this project or a program and still be able to generate value? No way. There is no possibility. Then we have got gated reviews, like I explained. At various defined points, work within a component should be reviewed. I mean, that is kind of a bottleneck. You stop, it's just like a check post. So you review whatever had to be completed here, and only you let it pass if it fulfills the requirement, the acceptance criteria and all. If that all is agreed, only then you are allowed to pass the gated review. Together with the confirmation of the work still required to meet the requirement. The reported results of gated review provide the portfolio manager with an indication that the component is on course to meet its required scope. So gated review basically tells me, like, if I have a gated review on, kind of, say, I have sensors installed on a dam. The flow of the dam, I have sensors installed that the water, when it will be leaving the dam, it would be passing through this channel, and on all those channels I have got sensors. So when I open the gates of the dam, I can then do some kind of sensing where water has reached, right? Because I have sensors everywhere. So it will be instantly informing me that water has reached point A, now it has reached point B. So you see, when I open the gates, these things can happen, right? And then for example, there is another gate at that place. We'll open that when this gate has passed the previous criteria. Only then the water will be allowed to pass through to the next stage. Similarly, we do it phase by phase as far as the projects are concerned. In programs, we have got a slightly different mechanism of reviewing, because they still have gates, but because every component of the program is maybe separately done, maybe they are inter-coordinating with each other or something like that. So they could have assigned gates where you can check. The key here is to get the right number of gates in the right place in the component lifecycle with the appropriate cost of change comprehension factored into risk equation. Very important. Although we have put in the gated reviews for better reporting purposes, but what if these reviews are conversely causing hurdles? If they have become too bureaucratic, they don't let anyone pass. What does that mean?
Yeah.
That they are stopping value from generating. So, right use of the gated reviews can ensure that the value gets generated and it is not stopped anywhere. Quality assurance, naturally, quality of whatever we are creating is also important. It is not only the value assurance we are concerned about, we are also concerned about the quality of whatever we are producing. The previous three concepts described help underpin a robust quality management regime, but that needs to be supported in turn by effective quality assurance to ensure compliance. Quality assurance provides a key value-related key risk indicator to the portfolio. You see, now we are talking about risk as well, because if there is a threat to quality assurance, you have to have risk management going on there. If there is a threat to the value, you have to have risk. Risk is associated everywhere. Who should have significant impact into shaping it for the needs of the portfolio? And now we enter into the next regime, and that is realizing value. Do you need a break here?
Um, I can keep going to the end, or
Okay.
we can take a small break if you need.
Okay, after we'll have break
5
after
minutes.
15 minutes.
Okay.
That's after 15 minutes we'll start the break.
Yeah.
Okay, realizing
Okay.
value. Portfolio managers should be responsible for ensuring that overall portfolio realizes its negotiated required value. Very important. Whatever was decided, negotiated, agreed, right? So portfolio manager should be held responsible to ensure on and coming true on those promises. Therefore, they need to ensure that the components receiving output from other components in the portfolio exploit these outputs effectively and deliver the targeted benefits so that the portfolio expected value continues to align with the requirement. You see, whatever we have talked so far, there are two things about it. Number one is assuring. We have already done that. For that, we have addressed the gates and all that. And second thing is, um, portfolio manager is letting all its components be governed by some governance structure, which ensures that whatever they they do in the right manner. They go by the book. They go according to the governance structure. So that is the control portfolio manager is exercising on his or her component, which ensure that whatever the component they are producing, they are being translated into benefits and ultimately into the portfolio's expected value, right? So uh, we are taking this path as well. While we were assuring the value, we took the other path that was of the audit, getting into the veins of the component and checking if they are doing anything wrong, where the problem is happening, why value is not being generated. That is for the assurance purposes. Now we are concerned about realizing the value, and we just want that this value should get through. It should get realized, right? So this is a matter of governance. All the components must have got received the instruction, and now as a senior body, I am governing them, and I am asking them to come up to their promises. It should be noted that accountability for ensuring that the overall portfolio realizes its required value lies with the sponsors of the portfolio. For example, an organization might set out to increase its profitability by consolidating its real estate. It could choose to start down that path by ensuring that individual members of staff no longer rely on access to a specific desktop PC at a specific desk and instead use a laptop or access a virtual desktop. So, to that level, the restrictions imposed down in the down in the components in the programs and project could be a result of the governance structure portfolio manager has provided for realizing of value. It doesn't specifically say that a specific person cannot use uh, his or her computer or or desk during these timing, but it has mandated that there must be some timing specified for working hours, and people should not be on site after that. So what the timing is probably not the subject of portfolio. Maybe the project and program managers, the component managers may decide it on their own. But you see that the responsibility of realizing the value comes squarely on the shoulder of the portfolio sponsor. And therefore, portfolio sponsor is concerned. It's not only the portfolio manager, portfolio sponsor is responsible for that, right? So therefore, we need to ensure through our governance that these values are realized. To do this, it could task one component in the related portfolio with developing the virtual desktop solution, whatever kind of mechanism you want to develop. In this case, the intent behind value realization would be that those parts of the organization targeted to use the laptops and virtual desktops would actually do so, and do so in a manner that would allow for the retirement of the individually dedicated desktop computers in the anticipated number and with no adverse impact on the organization's operation. So what they are trying to do is they are trying to eliminate the desktop from the company, and they are trying to introduce laptops in place of them, and there is a governance instruction that from tomorrow onward nobody will be using the desktop computers, and you will be provided with a laptop, right? So without having an adverse impact, you have just announced a cutout date where all the desktops will be removed and the laptops will be made available. Successful realization of value is essentially concerned with management of change in the target component, ensuring that the required changes around a component are identified, planned, and executed effectively. So, the term management of change is used in this context to refer to the people-centric changes aimed at driving and embedding changes in response to the outputs of the portfolio. Right? So, portfolio manager can uh, provide these kind of uh, top-down change requests to the programs, and they are kind of you shouldn't say this is a change request. These changes are pre-approved. So these instructions are being passed to the program and project managers to accommodate these changes. This is distinct from the change management tasks that portfolio program and project managers carry out as they navigate the execution, because as I said, these are pre-approved changes. They do not require a change request. They are coming right from the top. They're coming from the portfolio. Realization takes place in the service components of a portfolio. Program and project components are about enablement. Naturally, they have to be enabled. The expected value of a component can change as portfolio components are planned, developed, and executed. Now, this is very interesting. While the portfolio components are, new components are being planned and developed and executed, a component which is ongoing, the expected value of that component can be changed on the run. So the respective component has to realign its strategies or realign its direction to what the change has been advised. External factors can also have an impact, like market conditions, competitors, laws, regulations, risk, etc., etc. So these external factors could also be a reason for bringing that kind of change. Risk management and risk impact also contribute to final value of the portfolio. As you remember in the previous slides, we did talk about that we have to balance between the value and the risk. Risk is such an important thing that it can overtake value, and that is a very unfavorable situation. If risk is more than the value, then probably uh, either you have to get rid of the risk or you have to get rid of the value. As execution of the portfolio unfolds, the portfolio manager can update the forecast of the portfolio value and maintain that forecast over time in light of progress and changes in the environment using the same techniques. So, we were talking about the portfolio value. Our performance is, as we know, is the aggregation of the value of the components. And not only that, but it also gives you an element of synergy. This effect that occur from having an optimal mix of resources. That is the highest level of efficiency and effectiveness, that everything is exactly at the right place. This diagram shows us the value realization chain. Uh, Here, right from the initial to the improved value, these are the stages the values are going through. And this diagram shows how investment degrades the value of the portfolio. The amount of investment may be fixed, but change control and the consumption of risk budget may allow for some variations in the actual investment. So actually what is being spent is due to the risks which have been identified. So maybe the contingency is eating up your money. So if there are so many risks in your project that contingency is eating up everything you pump into a project or a component, then probably you will never be delivered value at the end of the day, right? Value realization enhances the overall value of the portfolio, and such pitfalls, we have to get out of them. So, for example, whatever was the initial value, like let us assume this was the initial value, moving a portfolio forward requires investment. Investment decreases the immediate value of the portfolio, because when you have you have spent this much money, your investment
Okay.
it
You spend
goes
money.
down. And when you're spending money, and if you are not spending it on value generating items, like risk is eating up all the money, so value will not be generated. That is the point. So we keep revising our component investment, service level realizations, and ultimately we expect through this change exercise, which we are continuously doing to our components, that the value, the ultimate value, the improved value would be better than the initial value. Naturally, in between, if the value has gone down, you may have added more, and ultimately you have reached this level, but this level is going, improvement is shown by improved value. The value should be more. So you see, value is directly associated with that. Measuring value. The value measurement framework defines how value will be measured for the portfolio. Recognizing that reporting value is essentially an act of organization's politics. Now, when we say politics, that I would mean that when we are exercising politics, we probably are hiding certain things from certain people. We are being selective. We are not being transparent. But anyways, if you call that politics, the keys in measuring performance are compliance with the agreed upon value measurement framework. You must ensure that measuring performance are compliance with the agreed upon value measurement. So whenever you are measuring the performance of a component, you must uh, abide by the agreed upon value measurement framework, which has been developed already. You must also look at the effective stakeholder buy-in, transparency in execution. Now, I said if there is organizational politics that is not transparent, that is kind of conflicting.
Yeah. So, I don't know if I understand that one. Should be reporting value is pretty straightforward.
Exactly. So we should advocate transparency in execution. Within your program component, value is usually defined by the benefit, like in program. and in project it is defined by the product. So in programs, we have a benefit realization plan and a benefit realization analysis, just like we are having things here like measuring value and assuring value and all that. So that all that plan was for the program was the benefit management plan or benefit realization plan. Benefit realization analysis is part of that, which is an important technique. And if benefits are being realized, then the value will be generated, right? This directly associates with the value generation. As executable components such as programs and projects begin to deliver, it becomes possible to start making immediate measures of the benefits of those deliverables. The portfolio manager should require appropriate measurement approaches to be in place in the components that are impacted by the deliverables and have them report on a continual basis progress in realizing the benefit against the plan. So if they have any problem, the program managers are feeling that they are unable to realize the benefits, so a mechanism has to be put in place. The measurement approaches by the portfolio manager should be employed as if the issue can be resolved. Then we have got reporting value. It will provide information after about the performance and forecast. As these reports also include identification of variances, analysis of variances, and recommendations for corrective action and optimization. I think you are not stranger to these terms. We do all that in even in projects. Each portfolio component will actively track its delivered value and will forecast value risk tolerance and the current assessed risk level. Remember, we are talking from a portfolio perspective now. Portfolio component will actively track its delivered value, right? That is naturally the responsibility of the portfolio team, right? It's not the responsibility of tracking the delivered value. It's not the responsibility of a program manager or of a project manager. Tracking the delivered value is portfolio manager's responsibility, or somebody from his team will go and check that. And
that
will
was actually one of
forecast
my
value.
questions. Yeah, I was going to ask that question. All of these tasks these are the responsibility of the portfolio manager to
Yep,
report value. Is that right?
exactly. And portfolio manager has a team,
Yeah.
just like an operational team. He has a complete staff.
And when is this done? When is this performed? This is after the charter is approved, before. Well, this is throughout the life cycle actually, because you have to. Yeah, this is throughout the life cycle because you have to analyze it, realize it, measure it. Yeah, so this is the whole. This is a repetitive process. Yeah.
This is during the process. This is during the process. You see,
Yeah.
what we created before the charter is a governance plan, right? Portfolio
Yeah.
governance designed at that stage. Again, but you see, after the charter has been provided, portfolio manager has been assigned. Portfolio manager then starts developing the portfolio management plan, which include everything. It can include the value management plan, the risk management plan,
Yeah.
this management plan, that management plan. All of those are included in the
Including the
portfolio
value plan. Yeah.
management plan.
Okay. Right.
Okay, in reporting value, will address a number of topics like risk reporting, costs required to achieve required portfolio outcomes, reasons for any shift in those costs. If the cost being spent is more or less than what we expected, cost synergy achieved between portfolio components, value achieved by the portfolio, and the reasons for any shift in value. So all of these incidents are to be reported. This is a brief description. I don't think anything needs Any further explanation? Just look at the value achieved by the portfolio. This is unlikely to be entirely objective. Now, when you are reporting the value achieved by your portfolio, this is not really very objective to define. So, therefore, you may have to refer back to the metrics you have developed because they were meant for measuring the value, and using those metrics or using the language of those metrics or the measures of those metrics, you could report. This section has explained how environmental complexity can undermine isolating the impact of the portfolio from other factors. Stakeholder buy-in for the value measurement framework and consistent and transparent execution help achieve the consensus. Reasons for any shift in value. These are unlikely to be objective. Service performance is squeezed both by the performance of the program designed to enable increased value and by changes in the environment. So these are the uh, uh, forces on the opposite side. So continuously things are changing on the environment side as well as on the program side, and none of which can be controlled. So we have to keep ourselves abreast and see what the things are, and is there any shift in the value generation. So reporting value, in summary, we understand that we have portfolio performance forecasts, which are portfolio performance and forecasts, which have identification of variances, analysis of recommendations, value and risk tracking, delivered value tracking, forecasting value, risk tolerance, assessed risk levels, reporting topics like risk status, cost of outcomes, reason for cost shifts, cost synergies, portfolio value achievements, challenges in value reporting, subjectivity due to environmental complexity, stakeholder engagement, buy-in for value measurement framework, and transparent execution. So each of these points are discussed here, are discussed in the previous slide. So this is a summary of what we have studied so far. This brings us to the end of this chapter. Look at few questions. What does negotiating expected value in portfolio management primarily involve? Negotiating expected value in portfolio management. What does it involve? Does it involve investing in a high-risk project for higher returns? Setting the right expectations for the portfolio value delivery? Communicating the achieved value to stakeholders? Reallocating resources to different projects?
I would say B.
Setting the right expectations for the portfolio's value delivery. Okay. Which of the following is a key component of maximizing value in portfolio? Prioritizing projects based on their financial report, reducing the investment in technology, prioritizing projects that align with market trends and investing in cutting-edge technology, ignoring market trends to focus on traditional projects. Yes.
I want to say C, between A or C, but I'm going to say C.
Actually, you are right. Both of them are talking about prioritizing projects. But you see, it is not any one of the,
It's not only financial.
B and D cannot be true.
Right.
A and C, uh, financial reports is not the only thing based on which we prioritize project.
Right.
So I would more incline towards C. Then assuring value in portfolio management is similar to doing what? I think this is very simple question. A, B, C, D. What do you think? ROI, monitoring on investment, reporting financial outcomes to stakeholders, setting expectations for return on investment.
B.
Yes, please. What do you say?
I'd say B.
B.
B or
Monitoring
D
and
is what I was
investment to
thinking.
ensure it performs as expected. Okay.
It sounds like measuring, though. I think it's D, maybe.
Assuring value in portfolio management is similar to the very first sentence in assuring value was ROI is similar to calculating the ROI of your investment.
Okay.
Right? Remember that.
Yeah.
Process of realizing value in a portfolio is best described by what? Initial setting of value expectation, continuous monitoring of portfolio performance, actual achievement of the expected value from the portfolio, strategic reallocation of resources within the portfolio. Realizing value,
C.
actual achievement of the expected value from the portfolio, right? Okay. Measuring value in a portfolio context involves communicating the portfolio performance to external stakeholders, calculating the ROI to evaluate performance, setting targets for future portfolio value delivery, ensuring that the portfolio stays on its intended course.
B.
Calculating the return on investment to evaluate performance. I think that is the best answer.
Okay.
The best answer. Okay, we are done with this chapter. We are left with only one chapter. Any comments at the end of this chapter?
Yeah, I think you answered my questions. Mostly were who does this, and I think I understand when they say the political aspects, they're referring to only the ones that are objective. I'm sorry, political aspects are ones that are subjective, meaning that's discussion on if that was achieved or not, and it's not a hard discussion that you can prove or disprove. It's more of a it is political. I agree.
Organizational politics is not something bad, right? But whenever we are exercising politics, politics has a other side, which for certain reasons we may not disclose everything to everyone. We have selective kind of communication going on in politics, though it might not be harmful, right? But on the other hand, for the betterment of your value generation and your portfolio, you have to be transparent. So I would linger on towards the transparency as compared to the politics.
Yeah.
I would say, well, for the matters of the portfolio, let us, be transparent, right?
Yeah.
And let us not play any politics around here. Hope you understand my point of view.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so probably we can have a break.
Yep.
And if you like, we can have a longer break. Maybe, what do you say? What is your need for the break? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, what do you want?
Anyway, I think the next break after this one would probably be around my lunchtime. That would be a longer break. So we can do 20 minutes and then 30 minutes later on if you want.
Yeah, that is fine. 20 minutes is fine. So we will be back after 20 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I am